Whether you're in Viaduct Harbor or have a line of sight to the Sydney Harbor Bridge, whether you're in the Melbourne CBD or Elizabeth Key or anywhere in between, we are glad you are here with us. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, a chance at a first ever Super Bowl three-peat against Jordan Mailata and those electric Eagles. NFL history will be written today.
Every game has its lessons. It's had a great driving force that lit a fire in me.
We're going for that three-piece. First time in NFL history, we doing it.
This is what you were made for.
There's a lot of great things that we accomplished so far up to this.
Touchdown, Saquon Barkley!
But the most important thing is winning the Super Bowl.
These are the moments that we play for. What you gonna do with your mama right now? Show me something tonight.
Playoff Pat to playoff Kelsey.
Touchdown!
Finish is the only thing that's on our minds right now.
All roads have led here. Super Bowl 59, the Superdome, alongside Mike Tannenbaum and Sam Acho. I'm Phil Murphy. Welcome to NFL Blitz, presented by Macca's. Celebrate the Super Bowl with a Macca's run. And if you were in any field of study, if we were at a sales conference and it's the biggest one we got, we'd call it the Super Bowl of sales conferences. This is the Super Bowl, full stop. Mike, we're 90 minutes from kickoff. What is the energy like here in the Dome?
It's palpable, and Sam talked about it a little bit earlier. You can just feel one team chasing history with the Kansas City Chiefs going for 3 in a row, which is unbelievably difficult, guys. When you think about 300 transactions approximately a year, that's almost 1,000 transactions over the last 3 years, getting almost all those right against a team in the Philadelphia Eagles that may be the most complete team in football, that's created 10 turnovers in the postseason. This should be a whale of a game, Sam.
I can feel the energy. I played 9 years in the NFL. I've never attended a Super Bowl, though I had opportunities to.
So history already. You're at the Super Bowl for the first time, Sam Acho.
But now that I'm 90 minutes away, I can actually understand what the players are going through. I said, oh, man, it's just another game. It is not just another game. This is the game. These teams will never be the same. And so for me as a former player, but also thinking about the guys on the field, this is a chance to make history.
We have Chris Fowler, Dan Orlovsky, Louis Riddick on the call once the game actually kicks. Mike, you spent a long time as a GM, executive VP of football ops in this league. What the Chiefs are doing isn't supposed to happen. This league is built for competitive parity. How impressive is it? 5 Super Bowl berths in 6 years and a chance at a three-peat today.
Yeah, Phil, it just defies logic. It really comes down to, can Patrick Mahomes be a force multiplier and make the players around him better? And so far, the answer's been a resounding yes. And in some ways, Sam, they're really ahead of schedule when you think about how young they are on defense, how young they are at skill players. When they traded Tyreek Hill a couple of years ago to Miami, arguably the best receiver in football, a lot of people thought, like, well, this is going to be a rebuild, but it's been far from that.
And it's not just Patrick Mahomes. It's also head coach Andy Reid, who's been a great part of what we're seeing in this dynasty. It's also defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. So many of the pieces on this team, yes, they revolve around Mahomes. You started talking about names like Chris Jones, number 95 on the defense. Names that new guys like Drew Tranquill, who's only in his second year here. All of a sudden, you realize it's not just the quarterback. There are so many pieces that make this run so special.
But Sam, all year we prognosticate, we project by nature. We're already having the Patrick Mahomes vis-a-vis Tom Brady debate, which is saying something about what Mahomes has done on his CV. What would a win in a three-peat mean for Patrick Mahomes?
It would mean history. History is being made. The last three-peat we saw in all of sport was in 2002 when NBA with the Lakers. And so I think about the saying that Kobe Bryant had. He said, the job's not finished. And that's what I feel like when you're watching these Kansas City Chiefs. It's almost like the mindset is, the job's not finished. So the number one is history, three-peat. But then you start to wonder, okay, could they get 4? When would it ever stop?
You know what's interesting to me, I had the fortune of working with Coach Belichick a couple times in my career. He always talked about a lot of times in football, a team will lose the game before you ever have to go win it. I think these teams are so well coached that someone's going to have to win this game in the fourth quarter. I don't think this is a multiple turnover game. I don't expect a lot of penalties despite all the public, discussion around that. So to me, who's the quarterback in the fourth quarter that's going to make the play to win this game?
Well, if that's the question, the answer usually is Patrick Mahomes. The Kansas City Chiefs have won 17 straight one-score games. In my time, I'm sure in your time as well, we would do do situational football, work on one-possession games. And oftentimes, if you're winning 60, 70%, you're happy.
Yeah.
They have not lost in the last 17. And so for me, that goes back to situational football. They're not beating themselves.
And on the other side of the ball, it's all Saquon Barkley. What's so unusual about him, guys, is he's explosive in the run game. You just don't see that anymore. Again, 7 runs this year of 60 yards or more. And you mentioned Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs. In 18 postseason games with the Kansas City Chiefs, he has not allowed one 100-yard rusher.
Well, we'd be remiss, obviously, if we didn't start this NFL Blitz talking about the Chiefs and the chance at a three-peat. But coming up next, we look at the team looking to stop history on the Blitz, and that man loves to stop a blitz. Jordan Mailata, New South Wales' own, and that Philly offense. We take a deep dive into Fly, Eagles Fly, next on the Blitz at Super Bowl 59.
First word that comes to my mind when I hear tush push is I'm sorry. I apologize, everyone. I've been working on my swearing. Oh, man. No, keep the questions going.
Okay, we'll keep it rolling.
I got to pull into the memory on this one. Everyone has been saying like they're surprised at how fast I run. I'm like, I wasn't even open up and running. Hopefully they understood what I said. There'll be captions, right, underneath?
Yeah, okay.
Here's the thing, we couldn't even hear that soundbite because the Eagles players took the field and there was an audible eruption by all those in Kelly Green. But all you needed to do was watch Jordan Mailata to see that he has a bit of personality as we welcome you back in here to NFL Blitz presented by Macca's. Mike, this guy has been an international pathway dream. I mean, in terms of his impact on the field, the character he is, the way he invites these conversations. The Philly O-line coach Jeff Stoutland said he might be the most remarkable story in NFL history. You were a GM. How do you explain the gold that Philly struck in finding Mailata?
Yeah, what Coach Stoutland's saying, actually, there's a lot of merit to it, guys. He's playing like a top 10 pick. When you think about his size, his athleticism, and something for the audience today, you're going to see Philadelphia try to get to the perimeter with Saquon Barkley. A lot of it is they can pull a tackle. And Sam, you know, playing linebacker, when a guy's that big and that athletic, and they change the rules where you can't cut as a defensive player, it's really been remarkable how productive this run game's been, and a lot of it starts with Jordan Mailata.
And we love to talk about, okay, the draft and the pathway. Let's talk about the tape. Jordan Mailata is 6'8", 366 pounds, 166 kilos, and he moves like a deer. I mean, it's unbelievable. When you watch him on tape, when you watch him in this game, you're going to be astounded to say, how can he move in this manner?
Yeah, I mean, he moves like a deer. He moves like an SUV. He is a star at left tackle, Jordan Mailata, Sam. He's important in any offense, but particularly this one.
Well, the reason why it's so important is because he's the left tackle, the most important position outside of quarterback. But watch how he drives the defender back. He's 10, 11, 12 yards downfield. No, by the way, he's doing a pancake. Jeff Saturday loves these. I hate these as a defensive guy. And he's sitting on top of the defender, letting him know I'm going to be here all day. But not just that. This is back to the NFC Championship game. Now he's pulling out in space. Pancake number 1. Now he's running. Watch him hurdle over a different defender. Boom, hurdling over a defender. And oh, by the way, his dad taught him always chase the ball. He's chasing the ball.
And Sam, that's the first play of game. Do you know how disheartening that is for a defense when all week long you're talking about stopping 26, and here's Jordan Mailata leading the way?
And you know what's even more disheartening? That last play we saw was number 54, Bobby Wagner. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, Jordan Mailata didn't care. He pushed him once and pushed him again. So he's nasty, he's physical, so more like, maybe like an SUV more than a deer.
Well, this is a Super Bowl 57 rematch. That was a 3-point Kansas City win. And it's more of a sequel than a true rematch because not all the pieces are the same. A lot of the main characters are, but one of the significant additions was Saquon Barkley, a free agency addition. And as excited as all of those in Philadelphia were to have Barkley and Kelly Green, I think the guys blocking for him a little happier.
One word I would use to describe Saquon Barkley's running style. Man, that is hard.
Saquon Barkley! Oh my goodness! Teams Barkley off to the outside. Touchdown! Saquon Barkley!
You already the best running back in the world. I think you're the best player.
I'll say magical. Just because you don't know what he's going to do and whatever trick he pulls out the hat, you're just amazed by it. First thing in my mind is like, support him. Just try and run after him and be there. If you can catch him, probably not going to happen, but just my dad always said, run to the ball. So that's all I'm thinking, just run to the ball, and whatever happens, happens. And I don't know what I'm saying at the time. Sometimes like half my mic'd up, it's just me laughing. You know how in movies where like something fast goes by and you just feel the wind come like from behind you? That's what it feels like. It feels like when he runs past, you can just feel that gust of air that comes from behind you. It's how fast he's running. But what goes through my mind when I'm seeing it is like, this is going to the house.
With 30 yards today, Saquon Barkley will set an NFL single-season rushing yards record for regular and postseason passing the great Terrell Davis when he was at his peak. Mike, you were GM in New York and Miami. Where does Barkley's first-year impact rate in what you've seen?
It's historically great. Ironically, I put it up there with Reggie White, who ironically left Philadelphia and signed with Green Bay. Just from a standpoint, when Reggie White went to Green Bay and validated a franchise where a lot of people thought the free agency wouldn't want to go there, but from an on-the-field standpoint, he's productive, he's high character, he's a three-down back, he's explosive. You say something, how could the Giants ever let him leave? Like, the object of the exercise is to get players and people and teammates like Saquon Barkley.
Well, he's all those things, but he's also hard to defend. I remember being in 2018 playing against the Giants when he was a rookie, and he has this idea where it's a 3-yard run, 2-yard run, 3-yard run, 2-yard run, 7-yard run, 1-yard run, 2-yard run, 67-yard run. And so what makes him so special and dynamic is that at any moment in the game, Saquon Barkley can break it off for 70-plus yards. That's what makes him special.
I mean, he looks all business today, and as it's not evident, that touchdown we showed against Washington, Sam, on the first snap. And like you said, scoring position for that dude is every blade of grass on the field. You played linebacker in this league. What kind of pressure does that put on defensive players in the second and third levels?
It puts an immense amount of pressure because the issue with Saquon Barkley is that you can't just be in your gap. That's not enough. You have to be in your gap and be athletic enough to make the play, yet strong enough to not get run over. Going back to that play a couple weeks ago, you see Saquon Barkley move like a dancer in the hole, but then he has the acceleration to find the end zone. You see him in that play versus Washington. You see him essentially line up a safety and then outrun that safety. And oh, by the way, he makes you miss in space. And so he's almost like a ballerina doing pirouettes, but also he's got the strength of a rhino to be able to run over anyone in his way.
Yeah, and again, what he can do, the short area athleticism to me is so rare. We keep seeing that 180 jump backwards. I mean, it's just remarkable what he can do. He has the feet of a small person and the size of a big person and the speed of no one else.
All roads for the 2024 season and how it will be remembered culminate today here at the Super Bowl in New Orleans. But in 2026, we're taking a road trip. The Rams have a home game in Melbourne. Announced this week, 100,000 strong will witness the first regular season game on Australian soil at the MCG. We'll talk about that and get you closer to kickoff as the Blitz rolls on from the Big Easy. Welcome back to NFL Blitz, presented by Macca's, as we take you to kickoff of Super Bowl 59. Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner since 2006, and has seen incredible global expansion of the game. All our friends in Melbourne like to call themselves the unofficial sporting capital of the world. That claim was bolstered this week when they added a line to their CV. Wednesday here locally in New Orleans, it was announced the NFL would play a regular season game in Australia. NFL Executive VP Peter O'Reilly said that would, quote, most likely come in week 1, but definitely for the 2026 season. It's part of a 2-for-1 agreement to bring regular season football to Australian soil. Our Lori Horish chatted with Roger Goodell about why Australia was chosen now.
I think it was more our planning. As we sort of evolve our regular season game, as you know, we want to continue to play around the world and become a global sport. Australia was always on our map. I think we wanted to learn as we evolved the series from some of the other events. And I think now we feel comfortable that the long trip is something that we can deal with. We can handle the logisticals and competitive issues. And we also think the market, I think it's pretty obvious by the excitement that the market's ready, and this is, I think, the spark that will light the flame.
There's obviously the fan appetite, and then we know there's the city appetite. Melbourne has emerged, and the MCG is an iconic ground, 100,000 fans.
Sure.
It's clear were the reasons why it would be a great host city. There were some other cities involved. Sydney and Perth were both rumoured. What was it that drove Melbourne to the top of the list there?
Well, they are all great cities, and I think we could have been successful in any of those cities, but we really felt this was the right place, primarily because of MCG. Primarily because I think it has so many world-class sporting events there, including the Australian Open, which I just finished watching. And so from our standpoint, it just felt like the right place. I would imagine that as we develop this and we evolve, that we'll see other cities come into the fold. But for us, this was the right spot.
I know you've been to the NFL's, it's expanded throughout the globe, continental Europe into South America. You've seen some of those crowds and witnessed that. In terms of an Australian crowd, do you have any inkling? Have you got any feedback or thoughts on what 100,000 screaming Aussies at an NFL game might look like to you and sound like?
I don't know, but I can't wait to find out. No, I think, listen, the one thing that they were consistently confident about was it doesn't matter what time you play the game, there'll be over 100,000 people there. And, in an historic stadium with people who love sports and to share this experience, I think I will be there, my family will be there, we can't wait.
And what, in your mind, does success look like after the dust has settled and we've had this extravaganza of a first historic game in Australia in the regular season?
Well, I think it's going to be measured on a lot of things. Obviously attendance is a big part. Getting the right media arrangements and make sure that we reach the broadest audience is another big part of it. The people have a fun time, and it sort of lights the flame for football in Australia. I think that's what we see this as. And then we have to do our job to bring more football, more access on a year-round basis. This can't be a one event and expect that that's going to continue to grow our game in Australia. We are committed. We want to be there. We'd love to see kids playing. Love to see them playing flag or tackle football. So we'll continue all those efforts to make sure we're getting the game in the hands of people in Australia.
Understandable excitement to have NFL regular season games going down under, but I think our American analysts might be more excited for it. You heard Jeff Saturday kind of posturing after the Blitz the other day, trying to figure out how he can get an all-expenses-paid trip to Melbourne for that. Mike, but as somebody who's been in this league for some time, what is the significance of taking an NFL regular season game, putting it on Australian soil for the growth of the NFL?
Yeah, it's massive. And, we saw that over the last couple of years, be it Germany, and this year we were in Brazil, and now we're going to Australia where we know there's a rabid fan base. And I think it's really exciting. And I think eventually we're going to get to 18 regular season games. I don't think that's a secret. And then with the extra bye week, maybe it gives you a lot more flexibility to maybe do multiple games there. Maybe a team like the Rams stays there for back-to-back weeks and plays 2 games there. I think it gives you a lot of optionality down the road.
Well, I'm just excited for the game to expand even more globally. I remember growing up in Dallas, Texas, and I played football as a 17-year-old kid, and I met an actual NFL linebacker. His name was Brady James. He played for the Dallas Cowboys. And when I met him, I think we were in an elevator at a restaurant or something, and I looked him eye to eye, and I said, wow, we're about the same size. I watch you on TV. Maybe I can do it, too.
You were sizing up Brady James at 17? I was sizing up
Brady James, but it gave me a belief, an idea to say, you know what? Now that I can see you and touch you and feel you and know that this is even more real, maybe I can do the same thing. So the opportunity for fans in Australia to experience the game live and in action is going to be amazing.
The anticipation's just going to build until 2026. Anticipation building here at the Superdome. You're cheering and booing as they show different players on monitors.
I'll tell you what, I've been here since Wednesday, guys. This is an Eagle home game. Patrick Mahomes came out, and boy, did he get booed.
I thought they were booing Commissioner Goodell on my lead, in which, fans have been known to do it with every code and every commissioner, but no, it was Patrick Mahomes. We're coming up on, 9:22 a.m. if you guys are watching in Sydney, Melbourne on a Monday morning. And it's getting to the point, if you haven't shown up for work yet, you might just want to call in sick. It's our Super Bowl Sickie campaign, and we have a winner. The Super Bowl Monday movement down under is growing, and ESPN is here once again to get you out of work with the Super Bowl sickie. This year, we're also offering a chance to win the ultimate trip to this year's home of the Super Bowl. 1 lucky viewer. Congratulations to Simon Cornelius of New Zealand, Kia ora. Hey man, what's your excuse? You just won the ultimate New Orleans experience, courtesy of ESPN. Well, the Chiefs and Eagles, this trip to New Orleans is a work trip, though Adam Sandler's in the house. Bradley Cooper, we know he bleeds Kelly Green. We got Kevin Costner, Pete Davidson, Jay-Z. It's all happening here. Hey, this has been a business trip for all, a fun trip for Paul Rudd. The city where Rocky calls home has a chance at Super Bowl redemption. We talk Eagles' chance to get back on the NFL throne for the second time in franchise history as NFL Blitz rolls on from the Superdome.
Hearing the Eagles chant, you don't know who else is around, but someone's going to be spelling out the rest of the Eagles.
It is a pretty hard word to spell. Eagles is a pretty hard word to spell now.
Well, of all the variables that will decide Super Bowl 59, thankfully spelling is not one for Philadelphia. Welcome back to NFL Blitz presented by Macca's. Hey, celebrate the Super Bowl with a Macca's run. We're running down to the sideline. Christina Alexander is going to be running point for us down there during the game. Chris, you've been here all week. I think you and I flew in on the same day. We've seen thousands of fans worldwide convene on Philadelphia, or here on New Orleans. A little bit of an edge to Philadelphia as it gets deafening in my ears. What's the energy like down there on the field?
I put my hand to my ear, not because I'm trying to be Mariah Carey here, but it's really, really loud. And I have the Eagles fans right in front of me. You guys can't see them, but it's just part of the atmosphere, Phil. And you and I have kind of seen it build over the week. It was so calm on Monday, and then by Wednesday, NFL Experience came up. And just all the stars that have been walking behind me, I've been able to know that there are important people walking behind me because of these Eagles fans and what this means for them. When Patrick Mahomes walked out, yeah, he was booed really, really loudly. You mentioned Roger Goodell, but I think Patrick Mahomes won the boo contest, at least in this moment. This is my first Super Bowl. If you couldn't tell already, I'm so excited to be a part of Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. It's such a special city. And it's a city that's always looking for reasons to party, but today is a fantastic reason to party for the 8th time here in the Superdome. We're going to see another fantastic Super Bowl, Phil.
Well, Chris, I'm just happy you didn't wait for your Texans to make it to the big game, to make your debut on the sideline, because it might be a few years. I kid. But you mentioned you've been here all week. You've been with both teams, and we talked about it earlier. It's not hyperbole to talk about the centerpiece of the conversation that Jordan Mailata has been for at least this Eagles offensive line. I understand you have a story about some of his old classmates watching this game back home.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just trying to make contact with anybody there, actually. And then I did have a question about
at Mondale Park High School is also cheering him on, but his former PE teacher, I read an interview that just made me laugh about the fact that he knew that in year 7, Mailata was going to be a football player. But another funny thing that I read too, and I think it's classic Mailata, right? He seems like a very funny guy, and at the end, he said, well, he could pick you up with one arm, you know, if you gave him detention. So I think I would hold off on the detention there. But seeing Mailata here closely just a few minutes ago with his shoes off, just really doing that grounding work. This is someone with so much experience, and we know that this moment is so important to him. And the fact that he has all this support coming behind him, he deserves to be in this moment in Super Bowl 59, though.
Well, I think the partisan support extends beyond those old classmates. Chris, thanks so much. We'll chat to you throughout the game.
Thanks, guys.
Well, this is more a sequel than rematch. Again, the pieces have changed. A lot of characters remain from both sides in Super Bowl 57 that day in Phoenix. Kansas City kept it close. They had a scoop and score in the second quarter, then a walk-off, essentially a walk-off field goal to win. Kansas City starting the three-peat. The pain of the last 2 years, though, still evident for Jordan Mailata and the Eagles.
As cliche as it sounds, I'm not even going to use that, but, you know, obviously the confetti falling on your head. But one memory that sticks out to me is the moments after in the locker room. For me, I tend not to. I try to be, as cool, calm, collected. Try and be there for my teammates, and that's what happened after the game. Just consoling everyone else. But as soon as we got back to the locker room, Lane and I had a moment, to ourselves, and he consoled me, and I'll never forget that because he was there for me at what felt like one of the lowest moments of my life. As exaggerating as that sounds, it's pretty exaggerated, but yeah, at the time, in the moment, you just feel like you're at the bottom of the well, and you can't get out. And Lane was there for me, so that's one moment that I'll always carry with me forever.
Jordan talking about 2 years ago. We're well inside of an hour until this Super Bowl 59 game kicks off. Mike Tannenbaum, Sam Acho, Phil Murphy. Sam, you're part of this fraternity of players. How hard is it to bounce back from a high-stakes, painful loss like the one the Eagles experienced 2 years ago?
Well, it's nearly impossible, and a lot of the reason why is the mentality of losing in a game like that. I remember losing in a national championship, and it didn't in college and at university. It didn't feel real. And all of a sudden, you go to even a bigger stage, the biggest stage of football, to lose, and now to play the same team, the same quarterback, the same head coach, same defensive coordinator, same tight end. It's going to take the best effort at all moments from this Philadelphia Eagles team if they want to win.
Okay, Professor Tannenbaum, psychology is a big part of what you did in NFL front offices. We've seen 3 quarterbacks ever lose their first Super Bowl start and then win one at any point in their career. And John Elway's the only one that's done it in the last 50 years. How much should we read into a Super Bowl 57 result as we sit here and try and figure out how Super Bowl 59 is going to go?
Yeah, I think the big difference is Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts could play B today, and they could be the champions. Because Saquon Barkley, if he's the best player on the field, which outside of Patrick Mahomes, let's face it, probably will be, is really the big difference in this team and in this organization. And when they played a couple of years ago, guys, in my opinion, Jalen Hurts outplayed Patrick Mahomes. Now, Patrick Mahomes made 1 or 2 plays, but from the pocket, I thought Jalen Hurts played great. The X factor today is the ability for Philadelphia to get big chunk plays in the run game. And what does Jalen Hurts do? He's the son of a high school coach. He comports himself that way. He plays that way. And he knows that if they're controlling this game, Jalen Hurts will not turn this ball over, and that's what makes them so hard to beat.
But if they really want to win this game, it's going to be more than just Jalen Hurts. It'll take that defense. That's another different piece. Vic Fangio wasn't the defensive coordinator 2 years ago. Now, he did consult for the last couple of weeks when it came to the Super Bowl run 2 years ago, but now he has an entire season to install his defense. And what has the defense done better than anyone in all of the NFL? They force turnovers. So if Jalen Hurts doesn't turn it over, Philadelphia on defense is going to have to try and force some turnovers, take possessions away from Patrick Mahomes, and put the ball back in Saquon Barkley's hands.
Well, these teams, these Eagles at least, have transformed themselves. It's time now for Transform Yourself, presented by Shaver Shop. And we talked earlier about the free agency acquisition. Mike just mentioned it, Saquon Barkley, the difference that he made. Mike, how important have these recent draft classes been that Howie Roseman's put together for these Eagles?
Yeah, you could just look at their defensive line. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. Like, those are 3 Bulldogs right there from the University of Georgia. He's been able to rebuild on the fly, which is so hard to do because they've drafted so well this year. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, their first 2 picks in the secondary. So the only way to have sustainability when you have the stars that they have in Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, you have to hit on your picks, and they've done that over the last couple of years.
But they've done it early. Oftentimes you might see a player get drafted and they might not have success until maybe their 3rd or 4th year. Yeah, we're seeing rookies produce. I remember playing for Bruce Arians. He's won Super Bowls before, and he always said that we need our rookies to make plays. And all of a sudden we're seeing Cooper DeJean make game-saving plays, seeing Quinyon Mitchell, who's also a rookie, make game-saving plays. And so the interesting thing about this Eagles team is that it's not just the stars, it's the rookies in their first year in the NFL making big-time plays in big-time moments.
Well, in just his 2nd year in the NFL, Sam, we got Jalen Carter, who's an all-pro.
Yeah, Jalen Carter's been outstanding. He actually pretty much saved the game a couple weeks ago when they played the Rams with a game-saving sack and also had some good big-time PBUs. He plays on the inside, but that's a matchup I'm going to be watching him playing left defensive end, really defensive tackle, versus the right guard of Trey Smith. So, number 98 on defense for Philadelphia. That's the play right here that saved the game. But it's not just in the pass rush, it's in the run game as well. He's so disruptive. You see him trying to get double teamed. doesn't matter. He's creating disruption and forcing the offense to focus on him. This is early in that game. That's a sack early, getting pressure on the quarterback. So Jalen Carter is going to be matched up really against Creed Humphrey, the center, but also against Trey Smith. So watch that matchup when Philadelphia is on defense. Jalen Carter, number 98, versus the offensive line of Kansas City.
Phil, Sam makes a great point, because if Kansas City can block their front with 5, get everybody else in the route, which is what Andy Reid likes to do over the last 25 years, he doesn't like to chip. He doesn't like to heavy up the protections. If they don't have to do that, that's a big advantage for Kansas City. But to Sam's point, if they have to chip, slide to Jalen Carter amongst others, that's a win for Philadelphia. Makes Patrick Mahomes hold the ball a little bit longer.
Well, and you could add your boy Zach Bond to that as well. 4 years here in New Orleans. He had more starts this year for Philly than he had in 4 years with the Saints. And he was 5th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. We could go on and on with the Eagles. But Mike, as much as they've kind of changed things, there's a hallmark of consistency at pass catcher for the Chiefs. Mr. Clockwork himself, Travis Kelce. What kind of luxury is it for a franchise to have that kind of stability for your franchise QB?
And greatness is about, you know it's coming and you still can't stop it. And Travis Kelce, when you watch the tape and really break down his footwork, it's remarkable how quick he is in and out of breaks, how he can set up his routes. You know, he's great against man. He finds the soft spots in the zone. And obviously that chemistry with Patrick Mahomes is great. You look at the graphic here, 20 career reception TDs in the postseason.
Outrageous.
I mean, that's great for the regular season. It's really remarkable. And look, it's well documented what he has going on off the field, but you don't see any let up in his play. He's competitive, he's tough, and he's a big reason why they're here.
You mean his budding podcast career, as that's what you're talking about off field. Sam, linebacker, put on the helmet for us. How do you stop him today?
You have to slow him down. And what do I mean by that? You have to physically slow him down. What I expect Vic Fangio to do is I expect edge players, maybe it's going to be a Nolan Smith, or even linebackers, to try and bump him before they get into their pass rush. I played for Vic Fangio for 4 years. We would always try and focus on taking away the most explosive player for the other team. And so even if it slows down Nolan Smith as a pass rusher, he might get a little nudge, a little hit on Travis Kelce before his pass rush. Same thing with Zach Bond. Let's say Zach Bond, the inside linebacker, number 53, isn't in coverage on Kelce. Well, let's say Kelce's running up the middle. Get a little nudge on him and make sure you get back to your work. And so I expect there to be a little bit more extra focus on Travis Kelce as he's running his routes.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Again, if I'm Vic Fangio, if you're going to beat me, it's Noah Gray or it's Smith-Schuster. It's not Travis Kelce.
There's talent up and down these rosters. It's why these teams, frankly, are here today, combined 34-5 this season. But this is a quarterback-driven league, and the QBs today have been remarkably stable. They've been making timely plays, and they've been playing quite clean throughout these playoffs. We go under center next on the Blitz.
Showtime Mahomes means that biggest moments when the lights are the brightest, that is going to shine the brightest.
All day! This is the last time to get everything you got!
It's Showtime Mahomes, baby. He shows up all the time.
Showtime! It came from my dad when I was young, and I'd always try to slide around and make diving catches, and so they started calling me Showtime.
Mahomes magic. Patrick Mahomes is incredible today.
I mean, one of a generation type of player.
Welcome back to NFL Blitz, presented by Macca's. If that man, Patrick Mahomes, retired today, he would waltz into the Hall of Fame. First ballot, not yet age 30, 3 Super Bowl wins, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 league MVPs. Today, he looks to do something no one's done before. That is quarterback a team to a Super Bowl three-peat. He chatted to our Michelle Beisner-Buck ahead of today's title game.
So what kind of emotions run through you when I say that you and the Kansas City Chiefs are chasing history to become the first team to ever win 3 consecutive Super Bowls?
You have an appreciation for it, but for me, it's all about the year that you win it. Every year is different. There's a lot of guys on this team that haven't been able to experience the Super Bowl and experience the celebration after winning. And the rest I'll look back on, I think, when I'm done with my career and see how special of a run that we've had. But I just enjoy the moments and appreciate stepping on that football field with some of the great players that will ever play the game.
Pass caught at the 5-yard line, angling near side. Touchdown!
These are the moments that we play for. I believe in every single person in this circle. Let's find a way to get a win.
That word dynasty, Patrick. How often does that word creep in as you prepare for the Super Bowl?
It's something that you want to have at the end of your career. You want people to talk about you and the run that you've been on and the way that you've done it. I don't ever say dynasty. I got in trouble when I was, I think it was like 2018 or 19, because I said that I want to build a dynasty, so I haven't said it again. But the person that got me in trouble, I won't say his name, I told him that one day that I'm going to make it happen. So the goal is that one day, whenever we look back on that quote that I had, I can say that I went out there and did it.
I am dying to know who this person is. I can't wait.
Hey, I'll tell you at the end of my career.
If you get an opportunity in this game, you go out there and take it. Everything you got with the guy beside you, and we find a way to get a win. Find a way, baby. Chase on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Do you ever allow yourself to take mental snapshots and freeze frame moments like that so you can store that away? Is there one maybe moment in particular that you can recall?
I think the one I always remember is the first Super Bowl that we won in Miami. A lot of my buddies were at that game, and I got them tickets, didn't know where they were going to be at, and I walked off the field, and they were in the first row right above where we walked through the tunnel, and I saw them. I'm walking up the field, they're winning the Super Bowl, and I see these tears in my buddies' eyes that I played football with growing up, and I think that moment I'll forever have, because these dudes are supposed to be guys that I've never seen cry in my life. For them to be that happy for my accomplishments was a special moment.
Are they going to be at this Super Bowl?
They will be. They've been in all of them. I doubt they cry if we win this time, but it was still a cool moment because, like I said, man, I grew up with those guys, played every sport growing up, and for them to be that happy for me was special.
Back here inside the Superdome alongside Mike Tannenbaum and Sam Acho, I'm Phil Murphy. Mike, we throw around this term legacy in every form of sports discourse show we have, but we've never seen a three-peat before. What would a Mahomes win mean today once we're talking about his career when all things are said and done?
You know what's remarkable? He's going to be 30 in September. I mean, this guy's not 30 years old. You're talking about, a fourth win, Troy Aikman, Terry Bradshaw. I mean, he's in the elite of the elite. And then obviously, there's going to be that conversation about Tom Brady. I think the interesting thing about Brady is he almost had two separate Hall of Fame careers. And part of Tom's greatness was the longevity, something that, Patrick Mahomes will have to grapple with one day because of the fame and the fortune. That's obviously a story for the day. He wins today, though, to get that fourth ring before 30. It's just beyond remarkable.
Well, 4 is great, but 3 in a row almost is even better. Why? Because it hasn't been done. So he can have his fourth, but also he can say, I did something that Tom Brady never did something that Troy Aikman never did. I did something that no other quarterback has ever done. I've won 3 Super Bowls in a row. And so for me, it's not only the overall number 4, which gets him closer to Tom Brady, but it's the 3 in a row, and it's almost him embracing this role of the villain. There's been this idea that, as we're sitting here, we're hearing people boo him when he's shown on camera when they see him, yet he can still overcome that. To me, that stands out the most.
Well, something that's never been done by a Vic Fangio-led team or Vic Fangio-led defense is beating Patrick Mahomes. 8-0 is Mahomes against Vic Fangio on either side. How does he stop? How does he contain Mahomes today?
What we say in defense, we say tips and overthrows, got to get those. What do you mean by that? Even if it's just get your hands up and tip one of the short passes. Mahomes loves getting the ball out quickly to dink and to dunk. And so if Vic Fangio, you see him on your screen, unbelievable defensive mind. If he can just continue to have his guys rally to the football, tips, overthrows, and oh, by the way, the last T, tackling. He's an unbelievable coach when it comes to tackling. The night before games, what they'll do, they won't watch film on the other opponent the entire time. They'll just watch good tackling tape, and he talks about the fundamentals, which is tackling, so they can get tips, overthrows, and tackle. They'll be well on their way to beating Mahomes.
Sam, not to oversimplify things, I think this comes down a lot to the red zone because, Vic Fangio is a bend but don't break guy, and they are so good in their red zone structure and their discipline. And what'll be interesting to me is the best way to beat that is to run the ball. The question is it Kareem Hunt? Is it Isaiah Pacheco? We're going to this game talking about the greatness of Patrick Mahomes, and we should. But if we're talking about a Chiefs victory, if Isaiah Pacheco had 2 rushing touchdowns, I wouldn't be surprised. And if they're kicking field goals and Saquon Barkley's hitting home runs, that bodes well for the Eagles.
Well, Sam, you've been in these team meeting rooms. You've been in these team meeting rooms with Vic Fangio. What are they saying in the days and I guess even hours leading up to kickoff?
Well, the reality is this. The reality is that Vic understands that this is a bigger game. Everyone loves to say it's just another game, but the reality is after this game, these teams won't be the same. There will be free agents that will depart. There will be new draftees that will come in. And so even though this team has the #1 defense, this team has to play like they're the #1 defense. That means everyone doing your job. Don't try and do anything extra, not only as a player, but as a coordinator. So if Vic doesn't like to blitz, you don't need to blitz anymore. Just trust your instincts, trust your preparation, and trust that the foundation has been set for a victory.
Well, Patrick Mahomes is terrific. He's playing a #1 defense today, but to be included in conversations with one Tom Brady, you are a bona fide star. But as Eagles stars are keen to remind us, they have their own steady presence under center.
You look back at all the experiences.
Kansas City Chiefs have won another Super Bowl.
Never stop learning from any of them. I had a purpose before everybody had an opinion.
His demeanor has always been a part of who he is and how he leads.
Even this moment right here. Show me something tonight, man.
No moment is too big for him.
This is how legends are made.
Hurts is going to throw. Touchdown! Hurts does it again!
I know I've walked through the fire time and time again. In the end, it's always made me stronger.
This is how legends are made.
Mike Tannenbaum, last year, the scripts to get to Jalen Hurts, just blitz him. This year, second best QBR against the blitz, behind only Jaden Daniels. Last year, set your watch to Jalen Hurts' significant turnovers. He has 200 pass attempts now heading into this game without a turnover. What has impressed you most about Hurts' evolution year over year?
His throws from the pocket. Let's go back 2 weeks ago against the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. It was clear they were going to try and play the Commanders a little bit more man-to-man, try to have Marshawn Lattimore, the former Say, travel with A.J. Brown. We're going to try to blitz him a little bit more. From the pocket, Jalen Hurts made some great throws down the field, outside the numbers, big difference in the game. And that, to me, is, when we're talking about evaluating players, guys, Sam, the tape sets the floor, the character sets the ceiling. He is the son of a coach. He has gotten better. You can tell he loves the game and he's improved.
But he's also strong where he's strong. What do I mean by that? Jalen Hurts in the run game has been special. I remember a few weeks ago, he had that essentially quarterback draw, quarterback sweep, ran for a touchdown. So Jalen Hurts, yes, he has to improve as a passer. The teams are going to challenge him. But if he can stay strong in the quarterback run game, it'll create even more frustration for defense because they have to guard one more person, a quarterback, which they usually don't have to.
Okay, my immediate follow-up then, Sam. You're Steve Spagnuolo. How do you disrupt Hurts today?
Well, I bring pressure, and even though I get it, he doesn't really get affected by pressure, but I bring pressure at the right time. Steve Spagnuolo plays a lot of man-to-man and a lot of cover two, but as we saw in their game versus Buffalo, when there's a critical fourth down, third down game on the line, he brings pressure. And so trust your guys, trust Chris Jones, trust everyone on that defense, but when it's like the critical time, don't be afraid to blitz.
Mike, how about that intensity in that Chiefs huddle pregame?
Yeah, you want to know how to beat Jalen Hurts? Have 95, have a day here. That's what's so great about this game. You know, when we talk about Hall of Famers from this era, you know, Chris Jones will be part of it. And, you know, Sam talking about, like, when this Spags down the pressure, if they can get there with 4 with him and George Karlaftis, that really bodes well for Kansas City. You want to stop Jalen Hurts by having eyes on him. It's hard to play man-to-man against Jalen Hurts because if you're a defender, when your back's turned, he can take off.
The NFL season, all roads culminate today here at Super Bowl 59. That's the NFL. Other codes, the NRL season is set to kick off on March 2nd. The AFL season soon to follow shortly thereafter on March 6th. Don't forget to sign up for ESPN Footy Tips and play for all the bragging rights. All the bragging rights of the NFL are on the line today between the Chiefs and the Eagles. Somebody's going to be partying in the Big Easy, and some head coach is going to be the toast of the town. Will it be Big Red or Nick Sirianni? Kickoff inches closer. Round 2 between these juggernauts in the Super Bowl coming up. We take you there on the Blitz. Back here on the Blitz, it's time for our I'm Loving It moment, presented by Macca's. Eagles and Chiefs meeting here at the Superdome, Super Bowl 59. These head coaches have become the toasts of the town in their home cities, and they've taken different avenues to get there. For Big Red, Andy Reid, pretty straightforward. You start stacking rings in a modern dynasty, you're never buying a beverage in your town again. For Philly and Nick Sirianni, a little bit less direct, but he's taken on a little bit of the attitude, if not abrasiveness, that makes South Philly famous. Leadership is more art than science anyway, and both of these men have their teams 60 minutes from NFL immortality.
Coach Sirianni is just a player's coach.
I'm so proud of you. I love you guys. All right, let's go do it. We got business to finish.
I would describe Nick's leadership style as energetic.
You see his emotions on the sidelines or in the tunnel talking to fans.
Nick's leadership style can rub a few fellas the wrong way at times.
We have not done. It's nasty, it's grimy, it's gritty. It's right where we want to be.
I think it's actually his strength, his passion for the game.
That's someone you definitely want to play for.
How about those Chiefs?
Man, how about those Chiefs?
Chiefs.
When Coach Reed hits that in the locker room, you know it's a good day, baby.
I'm not sure exactly where it came from. It just happened. All the guys got into it the first time, so we just kind of kept it going.
I'm still trying to get on the same page as the Chiefs part. I think it just means family to me.
When you get to that locker room, you're celebrating, you're waiting on coach to come in there, you know that how about those Chiefs is coming, and you can't wait for it.
Head coaches in the spotlight at Super Bowl 59, and well, it ties the largest age gap and or experience gap in Super Bowl history, because you're not going to chisel it down over 2 years. They both have 2 more years of tenure. Do Andy Reid and Nick Sirianni back in the game, a rematch of Super Bowl 57. Here to go deeper into the 2 men at the helm are the 3 men manning the booth for today's game, alongside Dan Orlovsky and Louis Riddick. Here's Chris Fowler.
All right, Phil, thank you. We'll start with Andy Reid, the 66-year-old guy that has this persona of kind of a lovable grandfather, does lots of TV commercials in the States, but the persona that the team sees in training camp and practice is a little bit different.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I saw him at practice just the other day on Friday, and I said, you know, many people feel, just as you said, that you're like this finesse coach, this West Coast origin coming from Mike Holmgren. You just like to throw the football around and kind of play flag football. They don't know that you have the hardest training camp in all of football, and you really build guys up as the season goes along. And he said, you know what? That physicality is the #1 thing that will determine the outcome of this game and what he will be watching for like a hawk in the beginning and early in this football game.
And another thing that kind of gets lost is because they're so talented and because Patrick Mahomes is so remarkable that we think they just play a recess or run around style of football. It really is a fundamentally centric football team. Defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo really leads a charge of a well-tackling, great leverage-centric football team. So as great as the flash of it is, it's really built on substance.
Can't wait to see the legendary Andy Reid script. Those first 15 plays have begun off the fast starts in these playoff games. Sirianni on the other side, interesting contrast in coaches, came so close to having a life-changing moment 2 years ago. Is his team ready tonight?
Yeah, you know, what's interesting about him is he's a guy who has talked about the fact that he's experienced a lot of growth this year. There was a point in time in the first quarter of this season where really all the fans in the Philadelphia area wanted him out of there. They wanted him fired. And he said, you know what? He used the word grateful for the fact that they were on him the way they were, and he really used that as an impetus to really kind of self-reflect and try and change his style to best suit what this football team needed. And it's resulted in them being one of the best football teams in the National Football League and back here in the Super Bowl.
They never try to be something nor somebody they're not. They never try to get too cute. They are a unapologetic throwback football team of we want to run the ball. We want to play with 4 downs. Defensively, we're going to bring more people to the football than you do. And they don't try to out-scheme you. There's so much more about out-executing you with effort and intangibles.
Either a life-changing moment for Sirianni or another Super Bowl for Andy Reid and a future Hall of Famer.
Thanks so much, boys. Absolutely rapt that they are on the call for this game. Voices and football minds appropriate of the stage, which, I mean, Mike, we can say about Andy Reid. You don't become a modern dynasty without a bona fide star head coach and that synergy between coach and QB. How much credit does Andy Reid deserve for this Chiefs run and their accomplishments being on the cusp of a three-peat?
Yeah, it's historically great. If you go back to Andy Reid, all the way back to the beginning of Philadelphia, he's just done a remarkable job with quarterback after quarterback. You know, Donovan McNabb, Michael Vick, winning with Alex Smith, not Super Bowls, but still winning. And obviously now what he's done with Patrick Mahomes. And I also think Andy Reid with Brent Beach, the team builder, they get guys that can run after the catch. They have big, strong guys on the offensive line. They have certain prototypes they like on defense. And to have that consistency, Sam, that's so hard to do in the salary cap era.
And in multiple places. I remember growing up watching Andy Reid when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles. They were one of my favorite teams. I grew up in Dallas. And then after a while, he left Philly, went to Kansas City, and then you see even more success. So what amazes me the most about Andy Reid and what he's been able to do is that he's been able to translate all the learnings he had no matter where he's been, and he's brought them and he's even developed them a little bit more. He's got his quarterback, he's got his tight end, he's got the defense, and all of a sudden he's winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl.
Eagles fan in Dallas, huh?
I was an Eagles fan in Dallas. Had the rug to prove it.
That is a character-building experience. It's been a bit of a build for those Eagles with Nick Sirianni. Like Lou said, I mean, they started 2-2, and people were calling for his job. Winning cures all ills. 15 of the last 16 times the Eagles have played a game, they've come out on top. But Sam, what do you make of the roller coaster that this season's been for the Eagles, and I guess the role it's played in them getting to the Super Bowl here?
Well, it's caused the team to become a lot tighter. There was a lot of outside noise that people should fire Nick Sirianni and that maybe he's not the right head coach. But inside the locker room, you have to put on your earmuffs and ignore the outside noise. That's what this Philadelphia Eagles team has been able to do, and that has actually brought them together and made them that much tighter. A rocky start early, but they've really embraced their identity, running the ball, playing good defense, and all of a sudden now they're in the Super Bowl.
And I think the indice of a good head coach is be a little bit more strategic, and they lose Shane Steichen, things didn't work out, and now they go with Kellen Moore, and this is a run-centric offense, and obviously that's easy to say when you have Saquon Barkley, but how many times do we hear a coach say it's about the system? No, it's about taking your players and putting them in the best position to be successful, and they've done that here in Philly.
But it wasn't always a run-centric offense. I remember when Nick Sirianni first got the job, he's a former wide receiver coach, and he was throwing the ball so much, and it wasn't effective. Then about halfway through his first season, all of a sudden he realized, oh, wow, I can run the ball. Oh, wow, my offensive line, they're great at running, and they were dominating. All of a sudden went on a pretty good winning streak because they decided to run the rock, and so it's been outstanding to see the growth from Sirianni.
Well, also, he was a little bit coerced by those men and storming the castle with Kellen Moore in the room to say, hey, we need to run the ball a little more. That's the strength of our team.
Yeah, and that sets up everything. And Sam, you know this as a former linebacker. Play action so much more effective when you have to worry about 26 coming downhill here. So to me, that's what a great head coach is. He's a great strategist. He says, what gives us the best chance to win this year, this season, whatever it may be. And what I really like about Nick Sirianni is this is a different football team than we've seen 3 years ago.
And Mike, with that abrasiveness quickly as we approach the top of the hour.
Why are you asking me about the abrasiveness?
Because you used to have to manage these guys. You were a GM of some colorful head coaches. I was going to get there. It's not about you. You're a gentleman.
But if I may just one minute, not about the abrasiveness, but I have a friend who played for Nick Sirianni, and when the hire first happened, I was a little bit confused and frustrated. Will this be the right guy? And one of my former teammates, former friends said, no, Nick Sirianni is an outstanding coach. Just watch, and now we're seeing it.
Abrasiveness, the other A word that applies, authentic.
Oh.
He's authentic, and that makes it relatable.
I'm glad you went with authentic. It's a Monday morning here with a lot of people watching. So we approach the top of the hour here. 30 minutes remain until kickoff. We will take you to it here on the Blitz.
I can't wait. They're in trouble.
Can Kansas City cash in here? Mahomes firing for the end zone. Touchdown!
That's who we are right there.
You can't doubt the Chiefs. You can dislike the Chiefs. You're going to have to deal with the Chiefs.
The man.
The Chiefs Kingdom will raise a banner.
Chiefs are never underdogs. Just know that.
You either win or you learn. That's how I feel.
Here come the Eagles.
We're not done. We're not done.
Spins past another, leaps over a third. What a throw, what a catch.
So, and
they hand the ball off to Barkley. Touchdown! The Eagles win. Hurts does it again.
Cause once we start, you know we're never gonna stop.
I want to get 3, though.
No one's done what the Chiefs are trying to do. And for the Chiefs to three-peat, that would be something we've never seen before.
They ain't been on the journey we've been on. They don't dominate like we dominate. Hey, man, when we step out between them lines, I only want you to think about one thing. Everything we did to give.
The two best teams in football are about to collide.
Welcome into NFL Blitz Countdown presented by Macca's. I'm loving it. I hope you're enjoying watching across Australia and New Zealand this Monday morning, especially tailgate events that are ongoing. Guys, we inch closer to kick off. The volume is ticking up here in the Superdome. So is the energy, Chiefs and Eagles. Mike, as we sit here on the cusp of a potential three-peat, what excites you as again, we're inside of 30 minutes to kick?
They're going to have to win a road game. My gosh, we heard it all week.
It's South Philadelphia here.
This is a Philadelphia Eagle home game. We can say it's a neutral site. That's not true. We got a little sip of it in the warm-ups, and I'm telling you, like, Sam, you and I, when Patrick Mahomes came on the field, they booed him. And what that may mean is some silent counts early for Kansas City. That helps Philadelphia.
That's not typical. I know this is your first Super Bowl, Sam. That's not typical of a Super Bowl. This has been criticized in the past for being a corporate event. I mean, there were a lot of direct flights down here from Philly. They brought the house.
And what that tells me is that not just from the fan perspective, but from the player perspective, there's going to be so much emotion in this game. I remember watching Super Bowls and seeing players, when they start singing the national anthem, players have tears running down their face. Well, now you can understand why, because the opportunity either to make history or to break history is real, and it happens now.
History on either side. Either we're getting a Chiefs three-peat or we're getting the first Australian-born player to play in and win a Super Bowl. A handful have played, they've all lost. Jesse Williams got a ring 2014, but didn't participate in the game. Sam, how do you describe the monster at left tackle? I mean, he's a gentle giant, but not on the field, Jordan Mailata.
He's gentle giant until the clock ticks and then the game starts, and all of a sudden he becomes an animal. I played outside linebacker. Having to go against guys like Jordan Mailata, it's frustrating because he's so technically sound. You see his eyes, you see his hands, you see his drive, and then he doesn't stop. That's 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, 8 yards. Now it's a pancake, and now I'm just going to lay on top of you and make sure you know that I'm not going anywhere.
166 kilos laying on top of you?
Correct.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And again, this ties into their perimeter run game. Look, this was the first play in the NFC Championship game. Look at Jordan Mailata pursue the ball here. And you talk about a tone-setting play, Sam. First play of the game. The game wasn't over there, but boy, it really set the tone.
And he's not just doing it against scrubs. This is against Bobby Wagner, future Hall of Famer. One hit, number 54, two hit. You are going to feel that. So when you're watching Jordan Mailata, number 68, don't just watch when the ball is snapped, look at the quarterback. No. Watch the left tackle, especially on run plays. Watch what he's doing to defensive linemen.
And if 26 hits that hole with any measure of pace, it could mean a lot of trouble for the Chiefs. Mike, as a former GM and executive VP of football ops, why has this marriage worked so perfectly with Saquon?
Well, because of the story with Jordan Mailata and Jeff Stoutland, what they want to do in the run game, they can get to the perimeter and where you can go in space with Saquon Barkley. He has to make one guy miss or break one tackle. And then again, 7 times this year, 60 yards or more. That's
60!
That's a career. That is a career. He's done that in 1 year. So they've married this awesome talent with a great scheme, Sam.
And the great part about outside and perimeter run game is that you're going against smaller individuals. Think about it. On the inside, the defensive linemen, they're 300, 350 pounds. But if you can have a guy like Mailata pull to the outside, now all of a sudden you're going against guys who are 195, 205, 215, and that gives Saquon Barkley the advantage.
We've been waiting 2 weeks for this game. The excitement's building. It's deafening in here. I can't hear our producers. We're just going on vibes at this point. Sam, how do you describe the atmosphere in this stadium for those who obviously aren't joining us here in person?
Well, it's been sinusoidal. It's been up and it's been down. The ups have been when Patrick Mahomes has come out. You've heard him be booed. The downs have been when the moments of silence and this idea of, man, the country coming together here in America. But then the excitement and the passion all culminate when the ball is kicked off. So that's what I'm excited for. We're a few minutes away from kickoff.
And to take it behind the curtain, the players have a little bit more time off now. They've been off the field now for several minutes. I think the first drive of the game is a little unfair to that offense because it's going to take a little while to get this game going again because they've been off the field now for several minutes.
But the difference is Kansas City has experience in Super Bowls. This is their 3rd in a row. And so, yes, it's going to be a different time frame. Usually go in the locker room, maybe it's a 12-minute break. Now it's closer to 20, same at halftime. But Kansas City understands it. So they have a Super Bowl prep week when it comes to game week, but also game day, they will be ready.
But the one time in the last 11 playoff games in which Kansas City had an empty first possession was the Super Bowl last year. So it does kind of throw off that cadence. Sam, when you have this extended period, what's that doing to the players' nerves? What's going on in their gut?
Well, you have to try to find a way to keep yourself calm. Oftentimes, it's easy to get excited for a big game like this. But when you get excited too early, you can expand too much energy. And so you don't want to expend that energy. You got to keep yourself calm. Look at the clock that's going on in the locker room. There's a clock that shows you when you're going to go out to the tunnel, when they're going to sing the anthem, when you're going to run out on the field. So watch the clock. Keep your temperature cool.
Mike, how do the best teams deal with the nerves at this moment?
Yeah, I think Sam nailed it. I think it's about having like structure. And you hear coaches sometimes not necessarily do like a walkthrough in the locker room, but keep these guys fresh. Hey, here's our first 5 plays. Let's go with them again. Because you have to, again, this is a very unusual dynamic. Like they have been off the field now for a while. So both sides have experience. Both sides, coaching staffs, I think are going to be prepared. But I do think being on defense in that first drive is the better of the 2 positions to be in.
Yeah, I hated that when it was coaches would say, hey, let's try and change it up. Coach, the game's about to kick off. Let me get into my zone. Everyone's different. I don't need you to go over plays again. If I need to get the plays now, coach, it's too late. So I think the better strategy, at least defensively, is let each individual player get into their own zone. So sometimes it's listening to music, sometimes it's praying before the game, sometimes it's sitting down, sometimes it's talking to your teammates. But you don't need too much coach talk right now. Right now, people say the hay is in the barn. It's time to kick off.
Apologies if we're shouting. We're not doing it to shout at you. We're doing it so we can hear each other. Sam, you said players went about different things in different ways. What was your preferred pre-kickoff, I guess, tradition? Did you want to talk to coaches? Did you want to kind of keep things to yourself?
Well, I had to learn. Early in my career, I remember going into one of my first games, even in college, and I was getting so amped up, so excited, so much so that when I finally got to the locker room and the ball was getting ready to kick off, I was yawning. I was tired, so I had to change my routine. I changed my playlist. I played a lot more slow songs, a lot more soothing music, because I'm a guy that's naturally excitable. I didn't need the pump-up rock music. I needed something calmer, something slower, so that I could get my own energy when the ball was ready to kick.
You didn't need the Southern University band to get going?
Not even close.
They are shaking the house here at the Superdome. It is a super stage for the Super Bowl. Chiefs and Eagles, the 59th iteration of this crown jewel of American sport. Kickoff, you can see, 21 and a half minutes away. We will hand you off there once we're back from this short break. Do not go anywhere. We are on the cusp of history. Welcome back to NFL Blitz Countdown. Super Bowl 59 on ESPN is presented by Macca's. I'm loving it as we're trying to get things together here for the final moments until kickoff. Sam, we've been talking for 2 weeks. Sometimes it's a simple game. Philadelphia wins if what today?
Philadelphia wins if they can keep the game close early. What do I mean by that? If it's close early and they're not down early, they can lean on the running game. They can lean on the running game, and they can also force Kansas City to pass a little bit more, which sounds crazy. Why would you want Mahomes to pass? Well, you don't want them to be two-dimensional. If Mahomes passes a little bit more, you make Kansas City one-dimensional. You can force some of those early turnovers, gain extra possessions, and find a way to victory.
Yeah, and for me on the other side, Phil, to me, Kansas City can't turn the ball over. Philadelphia plus 10 so far in the postseason. They do a great job. We talked earlier about Vic Fangio and the fundamentals, pursuing the ball, creating turnovers. Kansas City, if they play a clean game, I think they win because Patrick Mahomes and his magic. But if they have to go uphill against Saquon Barkley and give away a possession or two, that really bodes well for Philadelphia.
Yeah, a lot of the guys who came through the Blitz on the week, they said you throw on the tape, Philadelphia is the more imposing side, but the intangibles, the experience, all that tilts heavily in the way of Kansas City because they've done this so often. Sam, what's a matchup you're watching for the Eagles?
For the Eagles, I'll be watching their offensive line on third down versus Chris Jones. Chris Jones is a dominant force, going to be in the Hall of Fame. But if it ends up being for Philadelphia offensively, 3rd and 6+. So when it gets to third down, watch the down and distance. 3rd and 6 or more is usually a pass. All of a sudden, Chris Jones, a defensive star, is going to be able to find ways to win one-on-one. He's number 95. Though he lines up on the inside at times, they'll put him on the outside. So he's big, he's strong, he's physical. So when it comes to 3rd down and 6 or more, when Philadelphia is on offense and Kansas City is on defense, I'm looking out for number 95, Chris Jones, number 56, George Karlaftis, looking for 90, Charles Omenihu. That defensive line is going to be able to hunt if they get him to 3rd and long.
Mike, how about a matchup you're watching for Kansas City?
Trent McDuffie, talented corner. Do they have him travel with A.J. Brown? I think that'll be a big tell for us to see how Spags wants to defend Jalen Hurts in this passing game. A.J. Brown is big. He's physical. It's really hard to match up against him. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we saw the former St. Marshawn Lattimore unsuccessfully trying to do that. Trent McDuffie's probably a little bit more athletically capable because he's younger. I'm fascinated to see how they handle that because, as Sam has talked about, Spags wants to dial up these exotic blitzes, but you better have a plan for A.J. Brown in the passing game.
How about a matchup when the Chiefs have the ball?
Yeah, I think for a couple of things. One, I'm sure Vic Fangio is saying make them go the long, hard way. Can't have the ball thrown over their head. Hollywood Brown is back. That's explosive. Make Patrick Mahomes check the ball down. The hard part, though, to me, Phil, is as we see Patrick evolve in his career, he's remarkably patient.
Oh, yeah.
They'll take the checkdowns. That means, can they tackle well? And again, red zone defense for Philadelphia. Can they hold them to 3 points?
I can't wait to watch what Jalen Carter does on the inside. He's a dominant force, but one thing he's going to have to go against, James Carter, defensive star for Philadelphia, he's going to have to go against a really stout offensive line. And so, number 98, Jalen Carter is a game wrecker. So when Philadelphia's on defense and Kansas City has the ball, will you hear number 98, Jalen Carter's name called, or will he be neutralized by center Creed Humphrey and right guard Trey Smith?
Mike, those Eagles, they've said the right thing all week. It's the next opponent. Redemption isn't a motive. In truth, how much do you think the fact that this team, this Chiefs team called them so much pain 2 years ago, plays into their preparation?
I don't think so, Phil. It's really a different team. If I'm Philadelphia, I'm saying we're the better team.
Yeah.
We are hard stop, the better team, and we're going to go out there and we're going to show it in all 3 phases, and our best is more than good enough tonight.
Well, if I'm Philadelphia, I'm saying we better be the better team. We better play like it because we're going against an all-time great in Patrick Mahomes. Yes, we're more talented. Yes, we have more, if you want to call it 5 stars, higher draft picks, guys are playing better, but they have the current GOAT, the guy who's playing right now better than anyone else in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes. So if we're going to be the better team, we better play like it from start to finish.
Well, Santa's in the house. He's got Kelly green beads on. I think he agrees that Philly's the better team. Mike, they're 17-3 this season, where the Eagles, in the Patrick Mahomes era, the Chiefs are 17-3 in playoff games. How do you even begin to break down that level of greatness and carry over the psychology of the game that you know most of your mistakes, if not all of them, are going to be punished?
Yeah, well, for Kansas City, it comes down to their best player is also so fundamentally sound. He doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't put the ball in harm's way. And they're these veterans, and Sam has mentioned it, from Travis Kelce, guys that have been there over and over again. This moment won't be too big. And again, that's why if I'm Philadelphia, I just got to be able to play our game and not give up the big play and force Patrick Mahomes to go the long, hard way over and over again.
And one way to do that is not just to win on offense or defense, but to win on special teams. We saw big-time returns by Will Shipley, another rookie player out of Clemson. He had a big-time kickoff return early in last game. And so whether it's in the kickoff return game or punt game, if you're Philadelphia, you got to be better offensively, defensively, and also special teams.
If there is a little bit of an X factor when we talk about that, Harrison Butker is obviously one of the best kickers. Lynn Elliott's been a little shaky for Philly this year. Missed a couple of postseason extra points. When we're looking for margins here, could that be the difference? All the star power, can it come down to a kick?
Well, you were talking long, hard road for Mahomes. When you make him hold on to the ball for a long time, he's not as effective as we can get it out quickly. In his career, when his average release time is under 2.75 seconds, the Chiefs are 39-1. Sam, that's a fun stat. How do you make him hold on to the ball longer?
Well, you have to disguise your coverage. One thing that defensive coordinator for Philadelphia, Vic Fangio, does better than anyone. He disguises not just in the secondary. People talk about, okay, show 2 safeties high and then rotate down to 1. He also has his linebackers marry their disguise with the safety. So when you're watching Philadelphia defensively, watch where Zach Bond is lined up, and then watch what happens as soon as the ball is snapped. Does he move outside more, a little bit wider? Does he back up? Watch what happens not just at the safety level, but also the linebacker level when it comes to disguising coverage for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, Zach Bond's been fascinating because he had somewhat of a mid-league career, and Vic Fangio has made him a superstar. Nakobe Dean getting hurt, I thought was going to hurt them. Orion Burks has done a decent job, but Zach Bond has really made up for Dean's loss.
Mike, why has he been such a great fit here? Couldn't find the field for the Saints, Zach Bond, and first season in Philadelphia, starts every game. He's 5th in DPOY voting.
Yeah, sometimes guys like, Mike Vrabel comes to mind. Average career in Pittsburgh, goes to New England, becomes a star. And again, I think that's coaching, Phil, to answer your question, that they have found different ways to use Zach Bond's athleticism, his explosiveness, and, sometimes development just doesn't happen overnight.
And it's his intelligence. I love it. Athleticism, yes. Explosiveness, but intelligence. That's why I'm saying watch what he does. He does everything Vic tells him to do. I want you to disguise. I want you to punch the ball out. I want you to get even more depth than you think so you can force extra turnovers. Zach Bond does all the little things well. And as Vic Fangio told us when I played for him, he says that little things done well make big things happen. Will Philly do the little things?
Sam, you're saying do the little things well. How the hell do you do that when you got John Hamm screaming and leading you out onto the field?
Well, you have to stay focused. I get it. The excitement, the energy, the passion. You feel it. You understand it. But the focus has to be there. There's going to be an extra amount of juice, especially in the first few minutes of the game. But once that juice runs out, it comes back to fundamentals and technique. Vic always preaches eyes, hands, and feet. Your eyes take your hands take your feet. So if you're focused and looking at the right thing, your hands will be able to strike the right person, and your feet will do the rest.
Mike, you're giggling over there.
This place is rocking. It is rocking. What? I'll tell you what, I can't wait for this game to start. This is, again, decidedly an Eagles advantage in terms of the crowd noise, but you get the sense, look at Mahomes down there, bring it on. Give me your best shot.
New Orleans, this is their 11th Super Bowl they've hosted. Bradley Cooper now ushering the Eagles out onto the field. And it is deafening in the Superdome. It's been a 12-year wait, and it seems like they've stored up their noise, Mike, just for this moment.
And it's unbelievably loud in here. And again, if you can't tell, they're introducing the Eagles. And boy, John Hamm, Bradley Cooper, let's get the two of them out there and let's get this thing going.
Why not? 11 minutes to kick off here on ESPN. Sam, you're giggling like a little boy on Christmas morning.
I'm feeling the energy and the passion. This does feel like a home game for Philadelphia, but it seems as if Patrick Mahomes doesn't care. You embrace the identity of who you are, of your team, and the belief. That's what I'm excited about.
The stadium's shaking. We've been talking about this game. It's time for some football. Kickoff next between the Chiefs and the Eagles. Super Bowl 59. Louis Riddick, Dan Orlovsky, and Chris Fowler on the call. This has been NFL Blitz Countdown presented by Macca's. Enjoy the Super Bowl.